Tonight, the moment of truth is here. The final hours of voting, the beginning hours of counting in Florida at the center of it all. Tonight, the very latest on voter turnout. And we're going to take you live to one of the crucial counties where Biden and Trump are competing in Florida. Too close to call and too big to fail. Has Florida fixed all the ballot problems that have caused chaos in past elections? Or are we in for another rough ride? Our I-team on the ground in Tallahassee with what has changed since 2000. Balance of power, the congressional races on the line tonight and up for grabs, and the one race getting a lot of attention. And the fight for 15, the minimum wage amendment on the ballot, and what happens if it does pass tonight. Let's keep rolling, everyone, and here we go. Welcome to ABC Action News at 5:30 on this election day, election night. I'm Paul LaGrone. Thank you so much for being with us as we continue our live team coverage of the 2020 presidential race. Americans all across the country heading out to the polls to make their voices heard. Here in Florida, polls open until 7 o'clock tonight, so you have about an hour left, an hour and a half to go out and vote. As long as you're in line by 7 o'clock, you will be able to cast your ballot. And just remember to bring your voter ID and your identification with you. Of course, the big race everyone is watching today is the race for the White House. Biden, Trump, two very different candidates, two very different visions for America. And after months of making their arguments on the campaign trail, citizens will decide today, Joe Biden or 4 more years of President Donald Trump. Our Lauren St. Germain has been watching the presidential race and joins us in the studio with the very latest that we're learning here tonight. Lauren?
Paul, it has been a long battle, and we're finally here less than 2 hours until polls close in Florida. The two candidates hit battleground states hard yesterday, and now there's not much left to do. Biden went into Election Day ahead in most major polls, but this morning President Trump seemed confident and says he expects to do better in the Electoral College than he did in 2016. The campaign strategies this year were as different as the two candidates. The pandemic is one of the main topics of this election season, and at this point, there are nearly 9 million COVID-19 cases in the country. The president is telling supporters that the end of the coronavirus is near, and Biden is hammering the president for how he's handled the virus.
We're going to beat this virus. We're going to get it under control. And the first step to beating this virus is beating Donald Trump.
We're going to have a great night, and we're going to have, much more importantly, we're going to have a great 4 years.
So far, roughly 100 million Americans have already voted, and experts say it's likely we won't know who wins this election tonight. In some of those battleground states, it could take days to count the number of votes, but it is worth noting, just because it's taking longer doesn't necessarily mean there's an election issue. Very important note there.
Yeah.
Paul, back to you.
Could be election week. Lauren, thank you. We all know that for Trump and Biden, Florida is really the big prize, the state to win. But here in the Sunshine State, there are also several crucial counties as well. Here in our region, Pinellas County is one of those. We're going to dive deeper into that coming up at 6 o'clock tonight. But first, right now, we move on to Miami-Dade County. Big for Biden down there. Melissa Marrero from our sister station live in Hialeah for us tonight. Melissa, you're at a polling location there. What have you been seeing there today?
Yes, good evening, Paul. One of the key questions going into Election Day was how many voters would we see voting in person, since early voting and mail-in ballots were huge this year. We're going to show you some video from earlier today. For the first time in history, more than 1 million people in Miami-Dade County voted early this year. Counting today's voters, Miami's expected to go over 80% in participation. I believe you're seeing video from earlier today. No one was waiting in line, which is certainly a big change compared to 4 years ago. We spoke to a couple voters who were excited to be here.
Today is my daughter's first time voting, and we decided to wait till today to make our vote.
There are different things such as, voters being recounted or, fraudulent things. So I think it's just better to vote on Election Day and, have a precise knowledge of what you want to do for that day.
It's just proud to be an American. Just glad to vote, come out here, and just glad to be out here.
I've spoken to the officials for the supervisor of elections in both Miami-Dade County and Broward County, and they're both telling me that everything is running smoothly so far, which of course is what we love to hear, especially this year. Remember, you have until 7 p.m. to vote, and that means even if you're waiting in line, you still have the right to vote. Reporting live from Miami, Melissa Marrero, back to you, Paul.
Melissa, thank you. We move next here tonight to the balance of power. All 27 congressional seats in Florida up for election. And we are looking closer here at the state of Florida. Let's drill down into that and fly down to Florida to see what's going on here with the congressional seats. We'll stay around the Tampa Bay area here. District 16, which represents part of Sarasota and Bradenton. Vern Buchanan, the incumbent there, he's held that seat since 2007, going up against Margaret Good. Interesting situation here. Margaret Good's currently a state lawmaker. She actually beat Vern Buchanan's son to get that seat currently in the state house. Vern Buchanan, the 8th richest member of Congress. He certainly has the resources. Margaret Good running as the challenger there. District 15 representing parts of Brandon and Plant City. Alan Cohn, full disclosure, used to be an investigative reporter here at ABC Action News. He's challenging Scott Franklin. This is essentially an open seat here. Scott Franklin actually beat the incumbent in the primary. We move over to District 12. Gus Bilirakis against Kimberly Walker. Gus Bilirakis, his family, his father used to be a congressman, so he's a well-known figure here. It'll be interesting to see if Kimberly Walker can make any headway in that race tonight. Bilirakis, of course, is the favorite. To the heart of Tampa, District 14, Kathy Castor, another well-known name, going up against Christine Quinn, who's actually not from Florida. She's from California. She moved to Florida several years ago, bringing her business with her because she wanted a more business-friendly climate. And then finally, District 13. This is an interesting one. It's received a lot of airtime with the political ads. Charlie Crist and Anna Paulina Luna, who really has marketed herself as sort of an anti-politician, a maverick of sorts, even though she is a Republican. Her ads don't outright state that, against Charlie Crist, who admits that he's a career politician, of course, the former governor of Florida, who once was a Republican, then evolved to an independent, and is now a Democrat. Our Julie Salomon covering the Crist-Luna race for us. He joined us live from Pinellas County. Julie, what are you hearing out there tonight?
Well, right now we're in Clearwater, where Anna Paulina Luna will host a watch party later tonight around 6:30, 7 o'clock. We caught up with both candidates earlier today. Now, the incumbent, Charlie Crist, visited a polling site early Tuesday. He faces Anna Paulina Luna in the race for Congress. Florida's 13th congressional district covers Pinellas County, including Clearwater and St. Pete. Crist served as state senator, commissioner of education, Florida attorney general, and Florida's 44th governor. His opponent visited several polling sites today holding signs. Luna was endorsed by President Trump. She joined the Air Force at 19 and served 6 years in the military. We caught up with both candidates.
I found that a lot of voters, if they are undecided, they like to actually ask candidates questions. And so I've been out here. We've been getting a lot of support, though. And frankly, we've been on the road and going since about 6 a.m.
Blessed thing to be able to pick and choose our leaders. Democracy is an amazing thing. And so many countries don't have that privilege.
And Luna will host a watch party here in Clearwater tonight at the Island Way Grill. Charlie Crist has decided to go virtual. He will be holding a press conference after polls close. Reporting live in Pinellas County, Julie Salomon, ABC Action News.
Julie, thank you. There's more than just people to vote for on the ballot on this election day. Floridians also voting on a proposal to lift the state's wage floor to $15 per hour by the year 2026. Our Eric Waxler joining us live on this issue on Indian Rocks Beach to break down this amendment. Eric?
Hey, Paul. Restaurants like this one, Krabby Bill's on Indian Rocks Beach, are the type of businesses that are really watching this very closely. They would be the most affected if Amendment 2 passes and raises the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Although this will happen incrementally, next year it would go up to $10 an hour and move up from there. That would happen in September. Those pushing for the wage increase include a group called Florida for a Fair Wage, led by attorney John Morgan, and Florida for $15, representing millions of fast food employees, hospital workers, janitorial, farming, and nursing home workers who say they are essential and putting their lives on the line during this pandemic. Several other states have brought the pay floor up to $15 an hour, but opponents like restaurant and hotel associations, Chamber of Commerce groups, they say it would lead to layoffs, less hours for workers, and even businesses being forced to close, especially those still reeling from the pandemic shutdowns.
Well, I've just tried to take the stance, and we as a business, is not so much how it affects us as a business, but how it affects our customers and the people that work on our team. And we just feel like the impacts of it are actually going to hurt the people that is intended to help, and it will also have a tremendous impact on the people who call Florida home.
I'm a business person. If they want to learn about business, come talk to me, because what I'm going to tell them is this: pay your people fairly. You'll attract better people. You won't have turnover, and you'll make more money doing the right thing.
Now, economy experts we talked to say that the minimum wage increase will, of course, help some, but could also hurt others, and there may be better ways to help improve people's situations by putting money towards job training programs or helping them find new careers. Live in Pinellas County, Eric Waxler, ABC Action News.
Eric, thank you. Election organization then and now. Coming up next here tonight, what Florida has learned since the infamous election of 2000, and will this year be any kind of a repeat, or do we have our act together? The story next. Welcome back, everyone, to our Election Day coverage. And right now, we're getting some key questions about the presidential race answered, and a big issue impacting every single American this year, of course, the coronavirus pandemic. So let's get right to it. ABC Action News political analyst Dr. Susan McManus standing by here tonight. And Susan, I want to get your take on this. We're just now getting some exit polling data just dropping in within the last few minutes here. And we know that COVID-19 apparently impacting the election and a big driver for voters to the polls. That's what this data is showing, at least in the last few minutes. What do Americans really want from a president in terms of the crisis that we're in?
Well, it depends on how you view the issue. For Democrats, they want more of uniformity and rules about when to close down and testing and so forth. For Republicans, they see it as more of an issue of economics, that it's going to totally destroy their business or their household finances if they don't get it under control, but phasing it out is not the idea that's very good at this moment. So it's clearly viewed through partisan lenses.
The coronavirus also changing our traditional election day. Many people did vote today. We saw record numbers, though, of early voting and vote by mail. How will this impact when the race is officially called tonight, and when we might know who would win in Florida?
Well, because of vote by mail having signature requirements, that may be a delay, because those people that are missing a signature or the signature doesn't match, those ballots are put aside and the people notified, and they have up to 2 days after the election to come in and fix their signature so their ballot counts. That's one way. Another outstanding would be provisional ballots. If somebody went to a polling location and didn't have ID, they could vote a provisional ballot. Those are set aside, and then after the election, they're allowed to check and see whether they're registered. The officials do that. So there are two piles of votes right there that are affected by so many people using vote by mail.
All right, Susan, thank you for your time.
Early on day voting.
And a lot more to talk about here tonight, and that's why we're going to be here all night long. Susan, thank you for your time. You'll be standing by all night as the results come in. We'll hear more from you later on as we send it back over to Chief Meteorologist Dennis Phillips. Dennis, at least a beautiful day for voters heading out to the polls.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. We started 40s and 50s. We've warmed up into the upper 70s, and now we're still in the mid to upper 70s with dew points on the low side. Check it out. Just a beautiful day. Very dry, very pleasant after highs up near the 80-degree mark. In fact, Tampa did hit 80, 77 Lakeland, 80 in Sarasota. We've got a little bit of a warming trend each and every day over the next several days. 77 right now and partly cloudy skies. Winds have been gusting up to about 16 miles an hour over the last few hours. There's your satellite. Not a lot to show you. It looks absolutely beautiful, but over the next 12 hours, things are going to be changing. Now, yesterday we had northerly winds, drier air, cloud-free. Today we're going northeast, but watch what happens tomorrow. You can start to see the clouds shifting from the east to the west, and when that happens, we see a few more clouds in the afternoon. We see warmer temperatures, especially in the morning hours. So I think we'll start to see a subtle warm-up tomorrow, even more so on Thursday. And, you know, there's an outside chance of an isolated shower over on the east side of the state. I think our area stays rain-free, although I do think by maybe Friday into the weekend, those chances begin to bump up as we tap some tropical moisture from down south. Tomorrow morning, upper 50s to lower 60s, still pleasant, just not quite as refreshing and dry as it's been over the last 24 hours or so. By tomorrow afternoon, we're back in the low 80s. By Thursday morning, those morning lows go mid to upper 60s, maybe even closer to 70 degrees. And then in the afternoon, we're back in the mid 80s and the humidity starts to return again. So the days of sweaters and sweatshirts and boots, they'll probably be gone by Thursday for a while as we start to warm up again Maybe a little bit of a dip in temperatures in the next 5 days, but that's because of more cloud cover. Cloud cover from what's left of Hurricane Eta. Here's the new track. If you're just walking in, gets your attention, doesn't it? Tropical storm just south of Miami on Sunday. Big margin of error. It also has to pass over land, so we really don't expect it's going to re-intensify that much, but I guess you never say never. And the spaghetti models actually show a lot of movement here and maybe even a west turn and then another east turn down the road. So a lot to track, but at this point, not a huge deal. Northeast winds for the boaters at 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet. They're your tides, your sunrise, and your sunset. Florida's most accurate 7-day forecast. Rain chances still near zero the next couple of days. By Friday, maybe up to about 20%. And then by the weekend, especially Sunday and Monday, all depending on the track of what was Eta, could increase those rain chances pretty significantly for the southern half of the state.
Dennis, never a dull moment. Thank you. Well, as voters enter the final hour to cast their vote in the race for the White House, all eyes on Florida tonight, a state that can swing the complete dynamic of national politics and the chaos that ensues, the problem ballots and elections that are too close to call. Will that be the case this time around? I-Team investigator Katie LaGrone is live in Tallahassee tonight with a look at what has changed since 2000 when the fate of the country hung on the state's failed election system. Katie?
Paul, here in the state's capital, you can start to feel the weight of this election, the kind of energy you can only feel in a high-stakes battleground. And in the office behind me is where the state's election chief will be through the evening, monitoring results as they come in, hoping Florida's track record of stumbles on election night stays in its past. When you talk presidential politics in Florida,
this isn't 2000.
The race of 2000 is the political cloud that still lingers over the Sunshine State 2 decades later.
That was not fun.
Known now as Bush v. Gore, it was the Supreme Court decision that decided a presidency and left Florida a global parody for its hanging chads, butterfly ballots, recounts, and court fights.
No one really saw that coming until it hit us in the face.
Few were as intimately involved in the chaos as Craig Waters, longtime communications director of Florida's Supreme Court.
Time is of the essence. The recount shall commence immediately.
And best known for his court step announcements during the election debacle of 2000.
It was like a big circus. When I say circus, I'm not kidding.
20 years later, with results from another highly anticipated race just hours away in a state as divided, we wanted to know.
What makes this year different?
It's the whole mix of things. The climate is different and the technology is different.
After a few stumbles, Florida is on its third voting system since 2000. No more punch cards or touchscreens with no paper trail. Ballot tests and post-election audits are added safeguards. So are a series of new laws. After more election night snafus and recounts during the primaries just 2 years ago, lawmakers passed a number of voting reforms that included unifying how ballots look across the state and how they're counted here. As for those mail-in ballots, voters now have 2 additional days after the election to fix signature issues. Still, political insiders agree any embarrassment of presidential proportions in 2020 will likely revolve around mail-in.
If there's going to be a mistake made, it's most definitely going to be signature related on vote by mail.
Unlike many states, Florida was allowed to start processing mail-ins 22 days ago. Another attempt to keep Florida's track record of troubles history.
What's your gut telling you, Craig?
I feel like we are about as well prepared as we can be.
Social media advances and the ongoing pandemic will likely keep Waters out of the spotlight if the state's Supreme Court needs to get involved again 20 years later.
I will be in my office in one of those windows that you see behind me, watching it all and hoping that history does not repeat itself.
And of course, a big question that remains is what, if any, litigation could be filed in connection with this race. Campaigns, legal teams for both campaigns, both are ready for whatever the night and the coming days bring. Live in Tallahassee, Katie LaGrone, ABC Action News.
Katie, thank you. And still ahead here tonight, we're taking a deeper look into the issues and if any have popped up at our local polls this year. That story next. And we're back here tonight with our continuous live Election Day coverage. We have been seeing record-breaking voter turnout this year, and it's no different in Hillsborough County. ABC Action News reporter Adam Walser joining us live at the Supervisor of Elections office there with the very latest totals. Adam?
That's right, Paul. About 75% of registered voters have voted so far, most of them by mail and by early voting, but we've seen a steady stream throughout the day. About 35,000 more Democrats voted here in Hillsborough County than Republicans, but about 175,000 people who voted don't identify with either party. 698,000 of 934,000 eligible voters have cast ballots, far surpassing 2016 numbers.
A lot of people are voting. There's a lot of enthusiasm out here. And, you know, we'll be pushing out a lot of unofficial results shortly after 7 o'clock.
Mail-in ballots will continue to be accepted here until 7 p.m. And if you're in line to vote, your vote will be counted if you're in line by 7 o'clock. Reporting live from the Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections Office, Adam Walser, ABC Action.
Yeah, Adam, about an hour and 3 minutes to go here tonight. And the Purple County and the Purple State coming up next here. Why Pinellas is in the national spotlight tonight at the county's winning record when it comes to predicting presidential elections. And a closer look at how the state is performing on this election day. We've got an update from the Secretary of State. That and more as our election day coverage continues next at 6.